So I've gotten enough comments lately on how I do my weathering, specifically my weathering for Star Wars props, that I thought I should probably do a video on that topic. So today we're going to be weathering a Pit Droid head.
Wow.
Now this can be really messy, so I definitely recommend wearing like some clothes you don't mind getting a little bit of paint on. But let's jump into it, because I've got a few techniques that a lot of people have been really surprised by, including colored hairspray.
Wow. What?
So I printed this Pit Droid head a few years ago, and it's just been sitting, waiting for me to do something with it.
Well, we're waiting.
However, Droid Division on Etsy came out with an updated version of the files, so this sort of became obsolete in a way. But I thought, hey, how great for a test piece on trying out some different weathering stuff that I do quite a lot. I'm also partly doing this video because Art 2 is going to get a lot of weathering soon, and I always find that it's best to refresh my weathering abilities before I actually tackle something that's as important as something like R2-D2. So this is sort of going to be like a crash course for me as well. Now usually I would do like a wash with some watered down paints or something, but we're gonna skip that step because I really sort of want to do a test with these colored hairsprays. Now these ones in particular are specifically from Salon Graphics. I've used the Tresemmé version before. However, I used this version on my first R2 and I found that this was a lot more malleable after you spray it than the Tresemmé was. Now, if you're looking to use the hairspray for hairspray, definitely go with the Tresemmé because it holds more. Now, one of the things that you're going to want is a cloth or a sponge. I've used sponges in the past to give a little bit more texture. However, a cloth works just as well. The other thing is just a little bit of water, because a little bit of water you can sort of move around the hairspray a little bit while you're working on it. All right, let's give this a go. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It's all coming together.
Yeah, this one you can pull it off almost just as much as you put it on. Now if you wet down a section of your towel as well, we're sort of getting somewhere. Now I will say blotting the paint and everything works a lot better than smearing and wiping, because then you get streaks and it looks a little less organic. So I always typically try to do more of a blotting technique as opposed to a wiping technique, unless that's what you're going for. For example, like right here, these are where our antennas stick into the droid. Now, I may want sort of like a build-up and a streaking there, so let me sort of hit that. Wet it a bit. Do a little bit more blotting. It's looking kind of dirty. Sort of darken around the edges here. Oh, would you look at that? We've got sort of a really nice sort of rust thing happening there, some sort of grimy rust. Now, if we had done a sort of a wash beforehand, places like this ring that goes around, the little recessed areas would have a lot more grime in them. However, this is purely just to show off the Tresemmé, or not the hairspray technique. And then slowly, as you start to add a little bit more texture to the deeper spots start to get like a really, really nice, dirty, grimy look that you would find in most Star Wars things. And you can start to get really, really creative with it. Like right there, I think I might add some scratch marks with some silver paint. Do a little dent there, scrape away some of that paint. Yeah, look at that. Slowly start to sort of push that paint away. Start to get some really, really interesting stuff. Let's do some of that on the eye. Achieve sort of like an oil leak effect. Again, nothing in Star Wars should be like perfectly symmetrical. I mean, especially with weathering. And this is just a thing with Star Wars in general, but there are very few pristine, clean things in Star Wars. The Empire is like its own sort of visual paint language and everything, but especially the Rebel Alliance and everything, like that stuff is dirty as hell. Pit Droids, dirty as hell.
You dirty bitch! Look what you've done to my peonies!
It's coming along pretty good. Now, I will say that is starting to look like something that you would find in Watto's junkyard on Tatooine. And now I'm just going to do some tests with the Tresemmé Black, because although it's a little bit harder to work with, I do really like it, especially for some of these more recessed areas. So I started to do some stuff with the Silver Sharpie, but I didn't like the contrast between this and the already gray primer that I was revealing underneath. Now, if I were to do this for like another Pit Droid, I'd probably give him a base coat of silver or a metallic color over the primer and let that cure for like a full day or two before going over and giving myself like my primary or even secondary colors. I'm really liking the look of the chipping paint technique that I'm getting with this microfiber cloth. It's just chipping away the paint in a really cool way. But that is really cool. I'm liking that a lot. Again, it looks more like Star Wars the more you weather it. I'm gonna try something like, again, I'm done weathering it. At this point, I just want to try something. This is completely unnecessary. I'm just curious at this point because I'm really liking how this is turning out. But I am going to go ahead and give this outer ring a spray of darker color. Just gave ourselves just a little bit of a ring. All right, I'm liking that. Let's blend it a little. Let's give ourselves back some of those shadowy parts. I'm stoked with that. That's awesome. Now you can sort of see why I said wear clothing that you don't mind getting dirty, because especially with the spray, this stuff just gets really dirty really fast. Now I will say you definitely want to give this like a clear coat of whatever finish you want, whether it be like a gloss, a flat, or a matte, because it's going to help lock in all the weathering that you did to your piece, because this is hairspray, colored hairspray, and it's not necessarily supposed to be permanent. So when you clear coat it, it just locks everything in, gives it a nice sort of solid coat, so that if this ever brushes against something, moving it and handling it, that you're not going to get all that weathering that you did all over your hands again. So keep that in mind. And you know what we started with? I mean, it didn't look like much of anything, but now this looks like it could be, you know, in the background of Star Wars, and I'm just really happy with that. Let me move this egg back. Oh yeah, that looks good. I like that.
I like you a lot.
If you're making your own Star Wars props and they're too clean, I would definitely recommend these. And I'm going to have links for these in the description, and you can just buy them on Amazon, or you can go to like your local Sally Beauty Supply and you'll find these. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Yeah. Wow.